So all we have left to do now is to create the fireballs and throw them at the boxes. So in here we have if the game is on. So right now we have placed our game node, which means that every time we tap, we are going to be here. And in here, what I want to do is to create and throw fireball. Just like that. Okay, so let's now create this function. I'm going to make some more space in here. So that's going to be a function, and I can open the function here. All right, so we need to do a few things here. We need to first create the fireball. Then we will need to add particle systems to it. Then we will add the ball, so the fireball, to the scene. What else do we need to do? Well, we are going to set some force as well to be applied. So let's just do set force. And here I say add the fireball to the scene. Obviously, we want this to be exactly where the camera or the iPhone is. So I'm just going to put iPhone. And this is important, obviously. We want to be exactly where the user is when we throw the ball. Then we'll set the force to the ball, and finally what we need to do is to remove the ball from the scene so it doesn't get too cluttered with tons of balls. Well, actually you don't have to remove the balls, but I think it looks better. So we'll do this, remove fireball after 3 seconds. Okay, so first here we have our node, so we are going to obviously have a sphere. That's going to be our geometry. So in here I can say ball equals SCN sphere, and the radius is going to be, radius is 0.06. Okay, then we are creating obviously our, so let fireball, so this is going to be our node. So if I do SCN node, and the geometry is obviously the ball that we just created. Okay, we also obviously need to apply some physics to our ball, so I can call my fireball and apply some physics body and set this equal to dot dynamic. Okay. Then we have our particles, so we need to create this particle system. Let's do that quickly. So here if I right click, new file, and here let's look for a particle system. Make sure it's a SceneKit particle system and use the fire one. So I'm going to call this fire, create, and okay, so this is a good start, but it's not going to work for us. So what we need to do is, first of all, change this to not a plane but a sphere. So that's going to be the size of our ball, so 0.06. The lifespan is going to be just 1 second. The velocity is going to be 0.5. And the size is going to be 0. Let's say 1. Let's see what this looks like. So if I zoom in, that looks like a fireball. Okay, brilliant. So let's now add this to our node in here. So add particle, so I can say now fireball dot add particle system, and in here scn particle scn particle system, like this, and this is going to be named fire.scnp, and directory I'm just going to call nil. I just need to unwrap that. Okay, good. Next, we are going to add the fireball to the scene. So in here, we need to get the position of the iPhone, and that's going to be the camera, really. So I can create a camera, and that's going to be from the scene view. So scene view dot session dot current frame, and then you can find here the camera. Okay, so now from this camera we can get the camera transforms. Let camera transform equals camera dot transform. So the transform is going to be the position as well as the Euler angles of the camera, as well as its scale. If I now set this camera transform to our fireball, so fireball dot, and here we need to use our SIMD transform to have a float 4x4, and in here I can set now my camera transform. You see matrix 4x4, so this works. And you will see that Xcode is not really happy with this, because this camera transform may not exist. So what we can do is to just add a guard here. So that's going to make it a safe one. Okay, good. So that's now done. We can add now the fireball to the scene. So scene view.scene root node, add child node fireball. So for the force to be applied, if you remember, we had a minus Z position for the force, because we want the ball to be going straight in front of us when we hit the screen. This is going to be problematic because as the camera moves, we need to track exactly and multiply the transform of the camera and the force that we will need to apply. So first of all, we can create the force that we need. So let force equals, so here I'm going to use a float 4. So float 4, well, just 0, 0, -5, and 0. So here this is going to be x, y, z, and this is going to be our angle that we want to apply. But all we need really is to have -5 here in the z position. Right. Then here we can multiply that force with the camera's transform. And to do that, we are going to have a let adjusted force, which is going to be a multiplication of our camera's transform and the force. So here what we can call is SIMD underscore MUL for multiplication. And you see here we can multiply floats and actually quite a lot of things in here. What we're interested in obviously is our camera transform and our force. Ooh, adjusted, not adjusted. Okay, so when we have this camera force, we can now create the vector, which is going to be x, y, and z, to be applied to our physics body. Let vector equals, so as usual, scn vector 3 make. This one you should be used to it now. And here we are going to have our adjusted force, and here I can get the x. In here I'll get the y, and in here I will get z. And finally I can add now this force to my fireball. So fireball dot physics body, and here apply force. And you see we've got our vector 3, which is here, vector that we just created, and as an impulse it's going to be true. Okay, good. So last thing we need to do is to make the fireball disappear. So let disappear, and that's going to be an action. So scn action and fade out. Time interval is going to be 0.3, and then our fireball, run action. For this action, we are going to need to create a little sequence, because I want to wait for 3 seconds, and then I want to make this fade out, the 0.3 second fade out. So what I need to do is to call here dot sequence, and my actions are going to be in here. So we have obviously our disappear, and before we disappear we need to just dot wait for 3 seconds. So let's now try and run this. Let me just, if I look up and tap, I'm now throwing balls. So you can see how we either need, so this is working, but the ball falls on the floor and rolls then. So that's the problem, because, well, it makes the game a little bit crap, really. The problem we have here is that the ball is actually a little bit too heavy, or you can set this force to be more than just 5, up to you. What I'm going to do is here call the fireball physics body and change its mass to be equals to 0.5. Let's run this again. Okay, so now let's throw the ball, and yeah, okay, much better. Now the ball is going further, and you can obviously play with this, or you can change either the force or the mass, even the gravity if you want. It's all up to you. You might want to create different levels with different difficulties, make the blocks heavier, make the ball lighter, so people have to hit them really hard, like 10 times to knock them down. Okay, so that's it. I hope you enjoyed it. Oh, what happened there?